Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hey guys, we're your hosts, Em and Jay, and today we're looking at episode 9 of season 5 of Netflix's She-Ra. This episode has the gang finally make it back to Etheria, where they meet up with what's left of the Princess Alliance, and they learn what's become of the planet in their absence. We get to see Netossa in action, which is good, but this whole subplot with Nets and Spins probably would have been more impactful if they'd actually developed their characters over the series, because as it stands they don't really have much going for them, but now we're expected to care, so that could have been handled better. The episode starts with Glimmer teleporting all of them to their hideout, and she's really happy to get her magic back, but apparently teleporting gives Catra motion sickness, and she says she'd be okay with them never doing that again, but she doesn't know Glimmer very well. Horde is fascinated by the sun, because he spent his entire life on Horde Prime's ship. They should really give him a proper name now that he's not associated with the Horde anymore. This is a new start for him. So they get back to camp only to find it in ruins, which lines up with what Perfuma told them, so they get to work on finding the rebellion. Glimmer suggests they might be in Mysticor or Bright Moon, but Catra brings up the fact that people might be chipped, so they have to be careful who they trust. Glimmer takes it kind of personally, as she doesn't trust the princesses, but Adora agrees with Catra. Catra would be the one to know considering the fact that she was chipped herself. Bo checks the map and finds the closest village is a place called Erlandia, which was the name of a kingdom in the original show, although it's an in-name only reference here, much like the rest of the series. But Bo thinks that maybe someone there knows something, so Glimmer grabs onto all of them and teleports there immediately, much to Catra's dismay, but they're disappointed to find that it's occupied by the Horde. Back on Horde Prime's ship, we learn that the rebellion is spreading to other planets, so it seems the Star siblings got the message out. It might have been cool to see this happen, maybe through a montage instead of being told about it, because all we get is a few flashes on Horde Prime's screen, so it would have been more showing and less telling. At least we did get to see a glimpse of them, although this is the last time we see them. But regardless, Horde Prime isn't happy. One of the clones reacts to the words rebellion and She-Ra, so this is pretty clearly Hordak. I'm still not convinced it was the right move to leave him on the ship story-wise. Technically he was supposed to be the main villain, until Catra stole that spot, for 4 seasons, and now he's just sidelined. What's the reason? He's the one who took over Etheria in the first place, he committed all those war crimes, and now he's just one of Horde Prime's many minions. And wasn't he thrown away because he was considered defective? But if Horde Prime can make him an obedient servant again, what was the point of throwing him away? Which was what pushed him to taking over Etheria in the first place. Basically, I don't see a need for wrong Hordak when they could have just used Hordak with memory loss. But we also find out that Horde Prime's plan is to use the heart of Etheria. Well, that's just great. I was kinda hoping we were done with the heart of Etheria. I just feel like it caused so many problems. But he'll have to find another way to activate it since he doesn't have She-Ra. Okay, well, good luck with that. He orders his clones to make an example of the rebellion, and then contacts Spinerella to take care of the rebellion on Etheria. I wonder why he's targeting her and not Micah. I'm pretty sure he's the most powerful one he has chipped. I guess they just decided that Netossa and Spinerella were relevant to the story now, after 5 seasons. Better late than never, I guess. Back on Etheria, the group dons hooded cloaks so they can go into the town, and hopefully keep a low profile. Adora says they should be fine as long as they stick with wrong Hordak. So they approach the gates to the city, and he tries to play it off to the guards, but he's acting pretty suspicious, and even smiles nervously, since he's never lied before. Despite this, the guards don't notice at all. They probably haven't been trained to pick up on emotion. Entrapta compliments him on a job well done, and winks at him, but he has no idea what that is, so he thinks she has a facial tic. So she teaches him about winking, and this ends up becoming a running gag, of him using it even if it's not appropriate, because he's still learning. I don't find it as annoying as them calling Catra cute, but I also don't find it very charming either. Does this show really need another comic relief character? One of the townspeople notices wrong Hordak and gets scared. Adora tries to talk to him, but he runs off in a panic. Milog trips him though, and they notice that he isn't chipped, which means the townsfolk are acting out of fear and not mind control. Catra says that they should go because these people are too fearful, so they'll probably sell them out instead of helping them. But Adora disagrees, insisting that they need information. Bo cuts in, saying that he's the only one who's a normal person, and that he may not have magic powers or alien pets, but a regular guy like him can get through to them. It's a shame that Milog went from being a giant monster who slowly formed a conscience and became her own person to just Catra's pet, but I digress. So Bo approaches a local shopkeeper and tries to lay on the charm, but she's still pretty nervous. She asks what he wants to know, and he immediately asks about the princesses. Maybe he could have tried to build trust before going straight to that question, because she immediately shuts him out. That is exactly what the Horde is after, danger, and anyone caught helping them is going to face harsh punishment. I guess Bo overestimated the everyman approach. Bo returns to the group and tells them that it looks like the princesses have been through here, and apparently they didn't leave a good impression. Catra's happy to hear about a town that hates princesses, and wonders if she should buy property here. Well, usually property's a good investment. They decide to split up and search for any princesses that might still be in the area. As they search, Bo complains that people are afraid of the princesses after everything the rebellion's done for the planet. Bo, it's more understandable than you think. But Adora says they've been gone for a while and things are worse now than when they left, so it's understandable that people would be upset. She gets cut off when she notices the man from earlier ratting them out, so they duck into a shop, and she tells wrong Horde to cover for them. He's still being super obvious, but it's enough to fool the clones and they leave. The shopkeeper, on the other hand, wants nothing to do with them, saying that their hooded cloaks are extremely suspicious, and they're probably hiding from the Horde. Well, she's not wrong, but they say they're just browsing and try to act natural. But Bo pushes it a little, asking if everyone's just giving up and letting the Horde take over, so the shopkeeper responds by asking what they're supposed to do about it. Adora tells him that they're supposed to be undercover, so play it cool, only for Bo to slam his hand on the counter and start giving a speech about how this town should join the rebellion, which isn't exactly the most undercover thing to do in this situation. But the shopkeeper just scoffs, saying that the princesses have joined the Horde, and informs them that the town's been attacked by princesses and not clones. Glimmer steps in and says that it's not the princesses' fault because they've been chipped, but the shopkeeper says that doesn't make a difference to the town. So Glimmer takes her cloak off and announces that there are some princesses who are still fighting for Etheria, which Adora isn't thrilled about. The shopkeeper recognizes her as the queen and starts apologizing, saying that she doesn't want any trouble, and Bo tries to tell her they're not with the Horde. I feel like this scene would be more impactful if we knew what Glimmer's relationship with the people was, since I don't think we've ever seen her interacting with the people of Bright Moon. If we had seen that she had a good relationship with her people and now someone's cowering in fear of her, it would have hit harder. But they're interrupted by wrong Hordak, who warns them that something's coming, and also winks at them. Adora points out that's not how winking works and asks if someone's actually coming or not, only for Spinerella to blow out the windows of the shop. Meanwhile, Entrapta is trying to gather samples to see if she can find out if princesses were there, but Catra notices Spinerella's wind, so they follow it. They find that the others have been trapped in a cyclone. Entrapta's confused because she thought that Spinerella was on their side, which is a little weird considering the fact that she knows about the chipping, but I digress. Adora tries to appeal to Spinerella, saying that she has to fight the chip, but I think they should just go for the back of the neck. Just cut to the chase and get it over with. This way Spinerella just tells them to join Horde Prime, but Glimmer teleports them away. I guess Prime doesn't actually know the extent of Glimmer's abilities, since she was depowered the entire time they were together. Adora was shocked by the experience though, and questions how they can fight their friends. Catra remarks about how that never stopped her before. Seriously, Catra? You were the aggressor. Adora gave her multiple chances to do the right thing, but Catra was the one that was always beating her up. This also means that Catra isn't over it, despite the fact that she apologized for everything, so she has plenty of room for character growth that they're not going to take, while also still victim blaming Adora. Anyway, Spinerella catches up to them, but then Netossa cuts in and protects them with one of her nets. She welcomes them back before taking on Spinerella alone, so they fight for a bit before Spinerella picks up a bunch of debris and shoots it at Netossa. Glimmer teleports her away before she gets impaled. Back on Horde Prime's ship, Hordak still has the crystal he found, and he examines it when he has a moment alone, so he's probably still in there. Great, I guess. It's still Hordak. He really needs some kind of redemption if they want to make him sympathetic, but it's really late into the series, and it feels like they're banking on him being shipped with Entrapta to be enough to look over everything he did throughout the series. And I'm not even against the Entrapta ship, it's just that he's still a war criminal. He gets interrupted by Horde Prime, who is apparently too caught up in trying to find answers about Etheria to notice that he's carrying around this crystal. I thought Horde Prime sees all. Horde Prime knows that Etheria sounds familiar, but apparently it was when he was in a different body, so he can't remember all the details, so he asks Hordak to bring up the memories that have been stored in this clone. Apparently the first ones were trying to find a new source of power, but he doesn't understand why they would want to use magic. He really has a thing against magic, but this causes Hordak to start getting flashbacks of Etheria too, although he seems to lean into it. Boy, that baptism electrocution thing did not work at all. What was the point of that and the chips? That, or maybe the power of shipping is just too strong. Horde Prime is frustrated because apparently the first ones took their secrets when they died, but he's still determined to find another way. Then he yells at Hordak for standing there, asking if something's wrong, but Hordak just tells tells him it's an honor to stand in the presence of his former selves, which is enough to satisfy Horde Prime, and he leaves. Back on Etheria, the group reunites with Netossa, but she's upset about Glimmer taking her away from Spinerella. She even pushes Bo away after he hugs her, which is a little weird because it comes off as she's upset about them saving her life. She says that she'd been tracking Spinerella for days and she almost had her. I guess she could have just used the nets as a shield, but it seemed like she was pinned, which Catra brings up. Netossa's shocked to see her, so she traps her in a net, and Adora has to explain that she's with them now. Nets is understandably skeptical, but she releases Catra anyway, only to get upset when she sees the clone, so Adora has to explain that he's with them too. And by explain, I mean she just says they're with us now, and leaves it at that. I don't know, I would still demand a proper explanation, but Nets is just discouraged to find out that her only enemy right now is Spinerella. Adora asks what happened, so Netossa explains that Horde Prime got Spinerella first, and she chipped the other princesses, which wasn't actually the case. Mermista and Scorpia were chipped at that underwater soiree, which Spinerella didn't attend, but I guess Netossa wasn't there either, so she's just assuming that's what happened. She might have chipped Micah, but we didn't actually see that happen. But Catra reacts when she hears that Scorpia was chipped, so I guess deep down she does care. Netossa tells them about how the other princesses went into hiding, so they can try to figure out what to do, but she doesn't want to wait for them. She wants to get Spinerella back no matter the cost, even if it means being pretty reckless and almost dying. The best friend squad start beating themselves up for not being there, but they don't actually acknowledge that this was all Glimmer's fault for activating the heart of Etheria despite all evidence pointing to that being a terrible idea. This was pretty much avoidable, but now we're here. So Glimmer gives a pep talk about how even though their backs are against the wall, they haven't stopped fighting, and promises to get the other princesses back. So they all put their hands together and Glimmer teleports them back to Irelandia. Back in the town, Spinerella is interrogating that shopkeeper, who's adamant that she didn't help She-Ra and she didn't even know it was She-Ra. Spinerella isn't having it and demands to know where they went. Another clone comes up and informs them that the rebels have been spotted outside the gates, so he leads the two clones away, but it turns out this is wrong Hordak, who managed to sound convincing, so good for him, he's learning. The rebellion takes out the clones and makes their way to Spinerella, stopping any bots along the way. Spinerella is still interrogating this shopkeeper. How long is she gonna keep this up before she figures out this woman doesn't know anything? Adora and Netossa make it to Spinerella, but they stop and have a conversation about how Netossa is worried that they can't get Spinerella back. Adora tells her that Spinerella is still in there, she just needs to be reminded who she is. If Catra can come back from it, I'm sure anyone can. Adora transforms into She-Ra and they finally confront Spinerella. Glimmer teleports the shopkeeper away and they fight. She-Ra's holding back because she doesn't want to hurt Spinerella, but Netossa tells her not to because Spinerella won't be holding back. So She-Ra's able to turn the tide of the battle by giving it her all. And Netossa tries to reach Spinerella by reminding her who she is. It works for a second, and she's able to break out of the mind control, but then the chip starts reacting and forces her back under its control, but she fights it long enough to fly away. She-Ra tries to console Netossa, but she's actually happy about this, saying that Spinerella is in there and they can get her back. Catra reassures Netossa that Spinerella will be okay after the chip, and she would know because she has personal experience with it, which was nice of her to put Netossa's mind at ease like that. Then the shopkeeper steps in, saying that she still thinks princesses are trouble, but also thanks them for freeing their town, and says that Irelandia will always be an ally to them. Bo and Glimmer hug her, and She-Ra replaces the Horde signal above the town with one of her sword. Catra says that Horde Prime is probably going to know that She-Ra's back now, but Adora just smiles and says good. I like the confidence, but this was just one victory. Maybe they should meet up with the other princesses and get their bearings before goading the Horde. But this was a major victory, so all's well that ends well, at least for now. But then it cuts to Horde Prime punching the screen where She-Ra is portrayed, so she got her message across, and Prime demands to set a course for Etheria, because if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And the scene ends with Hordak taking another look at the crystal, because this is what this character needs: shipping, not actual development. Anyway, Netossa takes them to where the princesses have been hiding out, which happens to be the place where the Horde was hiding out back in season 4, during the whole Flood Arena thing, and then Glimmer confronted Catra there, so it's a little awkward for them. Bo excitedly runs to the door, only for Perfuma to trap all of them in her vines, and then demands to see everyone's necks. I can't blame her for being cautious. So Frosta looks everyone over and gives the all clear, although she doesn't react to the Horde clone, but we actually get to see the reunion this time, which is really nice. For some reason, this show has been skipping over reunions, even though it would probably serve the story better to let them play out in my opinion, which we get to see here. Swiftwind gets to reunite with She-Ra, which is nice because he's been pining for her all season, and Trapta is reunited with Emily, and even introduced introduces her to Wrong Hordak, who's nervous at first, but then they become friends, and Perfume was relieved to have everyone back together, so it's a nice moment for all of them. Catra's nervous though, understandably, and She-Ra invites her over, only for her to get punched in the face by Frosta. I really don't know what they were expecting. She's only been attacking their homes and destroying everything in sight for the entire series. She can't just waltz into their camp and not expect conflict. So She-Ra again says it's a long story, but she's with them now. And that's it. Frosta begrudgingly agrees, without a proper explanation. Seriously, even Scorpia had to work harder to gain everyone's trust than Catra did, but everyone just moves on. Perfuma asks Netossa about Spinerella, and she says they did find her, but she got away, so She-Ra gives a pep talk about how they're going to get everyone back, and that's where the episode ends. I think this episode shows that Netossa and Spinerella can be a part of the plot, and I really don't know why they got the short end of the stick for so long. There are so many missed opportunities with these characters, and because of that I'm not as invested in them as much as other characters like Scorpia. But I guess it's something. I did like seeing the rebellion reunite, and I'm glad they didn't skip over it, but I do think Catra got off really easy. She didn't even need to apologize to anybody. It was nice to see Wrong Hordak get some character development, but I'm still not sure what the purpose of him is. I wouldn't mind him so much if I felt like they were doing more with Hordak. After everything he's done over the series, I don't think having him stuck on a spaceship and looking at a crystal is enough to make up for it. He needs to understand what he did was wrong. But those were our thoughts. What do you guys think? Special shout out to our members: Caleb Nelson, Stutania, Tyrant Carnivore, Adam K, Shiny Orc Boy, Taylor Ramirez, The Rabbit Mancer, Dash Hound, Haley Kosheva, Ray Thulu, and Hunter Rose. If you'd like to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like and subscribe to this channel to see more content like this. Thanks for watching, we really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye guys.